Welcome back to Vikes with a Mike. As always, your host JC here with my co-host and good buddy Tyler Williams. And boy, was this last week rough. Um, I really don't even know. I mean, let's just get right into it. Your Minnesota Vikings take a terrible loss to the Dallas Cowboys Sunday Night Football here in Minnesota. The Dallas without Dak Prescott, with whatever a Cooper Rush is at quarterback, come in to town and beat your Vikings by 4. There is a lot to get into as far as this game goes, but I think that there's one thing that we really need to finally address, and we can't keep being coy about it, and it is the coaching situation. So for those of you who have been listening and really wanting us to actually get a little more cutthroat with that, we will definitely be getting into that today. But you are going to have to listen to a little bit of a breakdown of the game before we get into the coaching stuff. So, Tyler, why don't you just, go from wherever you want to break it down. I have, a bunch of things on every side of the ball, but we'll start with you. Oh, shoot. I think we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty, so I'm going to have to come. There you are.
All right. So let's start with the offense then, shall we? Some of the worst offense I've ever seen. This offense goes out there and they go 1 of 13 on third down on Sunday night. 1 of 13. That's the worst in the NFL this season out of any team. Literally the worst. It's just because we were put in these long situations, basically 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and we throwing the ball short of the sticks every time to a check down, which I don't understand. Why does that happen? We were just on offense. We were just not taking any sort of risks at all. We were just scared. I know they have Trevon Diggs and he's an absolute ball hawk, but throw the ball 15 yards if you have to. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Throwing checkdowns and not being aggressive when specifically the first drive of the game was absolutely fantastic. Granted, I've heard a bunch of things that, your first drive is often scripted. Those are scripted plays.
We made no adjustments after that scripted drive.
Right. Exactly. And then it gets improvisational. But the thing about it is I saw an absolutely insane stat that Kirk Cousins threw the ball past 5 yards, purely just past 5 yards, not completion, just threw it past 5 yards. The same amount of time that he threw behind the line of scrimmage. Do you know how absolutely disgusting that is in a game where it is this close and you have Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne? You've been able to game plan for this for 2 full weeks. I mean, there's a lot that goes into obviously a bunch of different plays, and I want to give Kirk the benefit of the doubt when it comes to reads, but there were plays where wide receivers were obviously wide open, streaking down the field.
Oh yeah, no, he just sailed the ball. The ball was being sailed. I think it was the second drive of the game, 3rd down and 7, and he absolutely sails it over KJ's head. I don't get how that happens.
Or was that the one that JJ on the sideline?
What was that? It might have been JJ.
Yeah, that was bad.
But you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. That was terrible.
Yeah. I only correct you because I thought I missed a play. I was like, oh god, he did it twice. But no, it's just this was that dud that was coming, right? Kirk Cousins was playing at this great level, and here I am, the week before being like, Kirk Cousins is an MVP. He's going to come out here. He's going to freaking do all these amazing things. And I think I don't actually know if I even pressed send on the tweet now. I can't even remember. But if I didn't, I was going to put something out there along the lines of, here we have Kirk Cousins freaking 1 game a year where everybody who's not national media gets super stoked and starts saying a bunch of stuff, and then we get turned into idiots basically, or we look like idiots because we were right and we had a reason to be thinking that way. But you give this man any pressure and he just caves. So not really looking forward to, well, we'll see. There's a lot of football left to be played. Obviously, I wish nothing but the best for Kirk and the Vikings. Like, as doom and gloom as this episode is going to sound, we're obviously going to keep rooting for him week in and week out. But you know, you see games like this, and it's like, this makes me really worried about like the $45 million cap hit that is next year, and how this team is probably only going to get worse the following year. And Kirk is probably not going to get any better because I don't see his situation necessarily getting any better.
I feel like the situation's already very good. It's just the coaches are holding this team back. But
well, that's what I mean, is the coaching situation. Right. And like, because like, even if you get new guys in here, then it's still a new system. Yet again, Kirk Cousins has to learn an entirely new system. So, which
he's used to because he's had a new offensive coordinator every year.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I mean. I want a little consistency, but this offensive system is not the system that I want consistency in, because I don't like this offensive system.
Right.
So it's this really hard kind of give and take. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place type situation. But yeah, offensive line looked terrible. I thought they were playing super scared, which is really sad too, because Dallas's defensive line coming into this game, when I was looking at him, wasn't very scary to me based on like other lines that we played up against. And I don't know, I felt like we played worse against this defensive line than we have against, you know, better starters at times already this year. Like, even though the Browns game was atrocious, I feel like there were more plays that were possible for Kirk to have a nice pocket in that game than in this game. And the Browns have a much better defensive line, in my opinion, than the Cowboys do. So
all I'm going to say regarding to that is I think the Achilles heel of this offensive line is the interior, because I think Christian Darrisaw looked good. He did get burned on one play. He gave up a sack finally, but I thought he looked good. I thought Brandon Miller does a good job. I think Garrett Bradbury and Oli Udoh, just specifically Garrett Bradbury, it's just terrible. It's for a first-round pick like him, like getting bullied like this, he just can't handle stronger and bigger nose tackles in this league. And it's just, he's not playing at an NFL starting level right now. You know, we took this guy with a first-round pick. You expect a little bit more. I think it's time to move on, to be honest with you, with Garrett Bradbury. I think you try to draft somebody this year, whether it's a first-round pick or not. Offensive linemen, centers can develop. They don't have to be a first-round pick necessarily.
I don't see it necessarily being a first-round pick. I think we're going to end up spending our first-round pick somewhere else this year. Couple different positions come to mind that are in need a little bit more than that. But I do agree that he is starting to turn into the obvious weak link for this offensive line. And yeah, as far as Oli Udoh goes, I've kind of seen enough at this point. Like, I'd love to see Wyatt Davis get in there now, just to like see what we have in him. And sure, maybe he's like genuinely not ready. He did fall all the way to the third round, so there's definitely some concerns there. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think that Wyatt in the end is going to be a better overall answer than Oli seems to be. Sucks because Oli coming out, into the year was like looking absolutely
really good. Yeah, that's the sad part about him. But Garrett, this has been a problem since his rookie season with the Vikings.
Yeah, he just can't anchor.
And it's popped up in big games like this. Yeah. It's popped up against good defensive line teams and specifically in big games like this one. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that pretty much sums up the thoughts as far as the offensive line goes. Running game, I wasn't super impressed by the running game either. I do think some of that has to do with blocking and the way that they were playing the run, to be fair, but also Cook 18 carries for 78 yards. Granted, 4.3 is not a terrible average, but it didn't look like he was hitting holes the same way that he normally does, which was kind of shocking to me because he was saying he was feeling so good. They were getting there. To be fair, the Cowboys were getting to the line of scrimmage really quickly.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we weren't playing as aggressive as we should have been on offense. But yeah, and as far as that goes, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, they were winning their matchups downfield. They were getting open from what I saw. They were just not getting the opportunities. So I know that you're pissed off about just the amount of targets, right? That JJ had.
Oh my God. I was going to get into that. That's insanely ridiculous to me. Like,
go for it.
Like, Justin Jefferson having one more target than your fullback. I love CJ Ham. We all love CJ Ham, but he's your fullback. Justin Jefferson is an all-pro top 5 wide receiver in this league. I don't really understand. That makes no sense to me at all. I mean, even though he was banged up in this game, you still have to throw the ball to him 8+ times a game. He should be getting almost 10 targets a game. Like, that's just ridiculous.
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. It's inexcusable, quite honestly, is what it is. And the whole banged up thing, he still played through the game.
He still played.
So, he was out there. So, no, in my opinion, if you're out there playing, then you've been cleared to play. That means you can play. I mean, unless it's a really bad injury within 30 seconds at the end of the game and you're a star player that just wants to be out there to take coverage away from somebody else. That I kind of get. But other than that, no excuses. I think that Willie McGinnis kind of summed up as far as my final thoughts on the offense and specifically Kirk Cousins. I think he summed it up best with what he said on NFL Network recently. At least I think it was NFL Network. Excuse me, geez. He said, "I will never ride for Kirk Cousins again. I am not going to put my money behind Kirk Cousins again. Even if he goes out and throws 13 touchdowns and 1,000 yards against Baltimore next week, it is a mirage." That is exactly what he called it. And I think he has such a fantastic point of something that seems to permeate through this entire team right now. And it is consistency. The offense can only play well when the defense is playing bad. And the defense can only play well when the offense is playing bad. And when both are playing fairly well and putting you in a position to win, the special teams is going to miss field goals to win the game. Right. And when all of the players are hyped up and ready to perform at the best level, the coaching staff is going to put them in not nearly any position to win. So as far as Kirk Cousins goes, it comes down to the same exact thing. He's just not consistent. He's statistically a top 5 quarterback, but that is because 90% of his games happen with only a small part of the Midwest, good old flyover country, like your dad likes to put it, watching him play. Whenever the nation or any sort of group of people with, a bigger set of standards or any type of real pressure is watching him, he falters. And the team around him does too, to be fair. But this loss specifically, I am so sick of him not taking charge and not switching into better calls and knowing that as a veteran quarterback, he can do that, or knowing that he can take a timeout. I don't give a crap if you and Zimmer have talked about not, Zim told me, or, it's a thing where the coaches only use that. And then Zim's like, that's a miscommunication on my bad. He has the power to do it. That's BS. You guys, number one, shouldn't be having that miscommunication. But second of all, Kirk, you're the leader. You're the guy out there on the team leading the offense. You can take a timeout.
Yeah. It's inexcusable. He's the leader of this football team, specifically on offense. and the execution just isn't there from Kirk Cousins. And neither the offense. The coaching it's just so bad. This team, they're not showing up and playing a complete game. They haven't played a complete game all season, all sides of the football. Like not everyone's played good in one game. We haven't had that game yet. We just keep playing like this, like conservative, just like let's let these teams in every game. We keep saying that, like we keep letting every team in the game, and we keep giving them chances and chances to win the game. And Dallas took it. They took advantage of it, and it's just embarrassing. I mean, the Vikings fans have been saying it every single week. We're failing to grasp at taking a game that we should be winning, because this is a game we should have won by at least double digits.
Yeah, a double-digit win at least is what we should have won by. Double digits at the very least is what we should have won by. And all credit to Dallas, even though I kind of can't stand I can't stand their fan base, a majority of them. All credit to Dallas, the team. They came out here and didn't matter that they had a backup quarterback who'd only thrown 3 passes prior that actually mattered in his career. And they were like 4 years ago. Like 2017 was the last time I think he threw in a regular season game. He came out here and he lit us up. Like he played well. 24 for 40, 325 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, but off a tip. Like just absolutely sad.
It just failed
beyond belief.
It feels to amaze. What I was going to say was, like, you just can't let a team with a back. I mean, no disrespect to Cooper Rush, he balled out, but it's like you can't let a team with a backup quarterback come into your own building on Sunday night and win a big game like that you need. Everyone knows the Vikings need this game to stay in the playoff hunt, and you fold. You fold under pressure when everyone's watching it. And that's what this team does. Like you said with Kirk Cousins, when everyone's watching him under the lights, he folds in the biggest stage. It is what it is.
Yeah, and that's coaching, man. It's coaching, and we're going to get into it. I swear we're going to get into it, but we have to pivot over to the defensive side of the ball. And specifically, before we get into anything, prayers up for a healthy recovery for Danielle Hunter. I don't know if he's going to honestly wear purple again after this year, but I know
that's terrible.
He's a good guy, and it sucks. I mean, it's very Vikings to not only lose this in a really Vikings way, but to then also lose arguably the best player on your entire team throughout this season to a season-ending injury. So I hope that torn pec heals up very smooth and that he's the same player. And I hope that because of circumstances, we are able to still retain him. Because I love Danielle Hunter. But if he's going to command too much money, then he's definitely too injury prone, I think, at this point to keep going with that. But I'm sure we'll cover that in the offseason. So we'll kick that one down the road. But thoughts on the defense? Not that,
Thoughts on the defense. Overall, I don't think it was terrible, but when it comes down to the biggest stage in the game, they fold.
Yeah.
When it's 3rd down and 11, they hand the ball, they throw it to Ezekiel Elliott on a short gain, basically giving our defense the chance for 4th down, right? And Zeke just runs through 3 guys, and somehow our defense just collapses in the biggest stages of games. Like, they're there, they play well throughout the majority of the game, but when Dallas needs a score and when we need to stop at the most possible time, they just fold. It just doesn't go our way every time on defense. And again, it's on Zim. It really is. I think Dallas, I don't know what the exact stat on it, but Dallas was very good on 3rd down on Sunday night. And that just can't happen because usually they're very good on 3rd down. But in the one crucial game on the game we need to play the most this season, it just doesn't happen. And it sucks, but I really do feel like Danielle Hunter being out, really, the motive of this defense just went down, and the pass rush just went completely down. Yeah. And we weren't able to get to Cooper Rush, really, in the 4th quarter. It kind of just, specifically second half, and from there it kind of just went downhill. Rush had mostly a clean pocket every time. So what can you do?
I definitely have to agree that the loss of Danielle Hunter can't be understated. I think a lot of people are kind of like blowing by that because of the fact that it's like the season-ending injury and that all that news is coming out after the loss. People are basically saying the same thing that I just did at the beginning of when we started talking about the defense, this whole idea of like, well, not only did we lose in the most Vikings way possible, but we also lost our best player, and that's where it ends. People aren't, at least from what I've heard and seen, talking about the impact that him coming out fairly early in the game, in the grand scheme of things, did to this defense. So I definitely think that there's something there to be said. But well, actually, I'll say, do you have anything else to say about defense? Because what I am now going to say about the defense is going to be a perfect segue into the coaching situation.
What I have to say about defense is the missed opportunity to get interceptions. The ball landing in Bashad Breeland's hands like 3 different times, and I might have been 2, but literally just in his lap, and it just falls out. Like, what is that? Like, you've got to make a play on that, man. Like, come on. The ball's in your lap. Catch the football.
Yeah, the Cam Dantzler one that he let go through his hands and hit the ground, and then the
Breeland had 2
that bounced off of him, and Amari Cooper still caught. Those were
but then there was one in the first quarter where he was banging on the freaking turf after he had one in his chest.
Oh yes, I do remember that one as well.
Yeah, he was sitting there just banging on the turf because he was mad. You've got to come up with that ball, man. Come on, like.
Yeah.
We had so many opportunities on defense, but I mean, you can't blame them either because the offense didn't show up. It's just like we can't do anything right here.
Yeah, but you want to say that it could theoretically be a different game, right?
Right. Yeah, you want to, but the offense prior to shit the bed again.
Yeah, well, you never know. Greg Joseph, at least, he made 3 for 3 on his field goals. Who knows? At least, maybe you get in field goal range with those 2 or actually, now that I think about it, I think at least the Cam Dantzler one would have been like really solid field position. So maybe your offense does go down there and kind of turn something on. But I don't know. That's not the world we live in, sadly. So, but anyways, my kind of last thing on defense was something that came out after the game. And in Mike Zimmer's press conference,
not this.
Somebody asked him.
Oh, I know where you're going here.
How much they had prepared for Dak Prescott and how much they had prepared for Cooper Rush. And he said something along the lines of, we had a lot of tape on Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush, again, as I said earlier, had only thrown 3 passes in a regular season game. So the tape that he was referring to was probably preseason tape, which is like fair.
Yep.
Okay, whatever.
Right.
That's all you have. I can't fault you for that. But the way it was worded originally made it sound like the team had been equally prepared to face off against Dak Prescott as they had been prepared for Cooper Rush. Minutes later, Xavier Woods comes to the podium and starts asking questions and gets asked a very similar question and basically proceeds to say, we didn't really prepare for Cooper Rush. We saw the passes that he had made. That was really it. The rest of it was all in preparation for Dak Prescott. He kept calling him 4, to be fair. So I'm not like, completely butchering his quotes, but he was like, we prepared for 4. We didn't really prepare for that. We prepared for 4. All our time was spent getting ready for 4, yada, 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 yada. So, let's get into it. Mike Zimmer needs to be fired. He should have been fired the night of. He needs to be gone.
Right.
Clint Kubiak needs to be gone.
There
are so many coaches that need to be gone. And I'm not even sure if it ends with the coaching staff, to be completely honest with you. I don't necessarily want to get too into that because it's a little tough. The reason I kind of hint at that is because today was the trade deadline and this team didn't make any moves. Not only did we not buy to try and get better after Hunter's season-ending injury, but we also didn't sell to try and get any stock for a future retooling at the very least. So I'm a little pissed off at that. I'm not gonna lie, but I also know that this front office very well could have been fleeced. So there's a there's a part in me that's a little happy that we stayed out of moves because we've been fleeced already a couple times, it seems.
Oh, yeah, we were definitely scared to make a trade, specifically with the Stephen Weatherly. I wouldn't say it's a fleece,
well,
but we basically got rid of depth right when Daniil gets hurt. Yeah, we had Stephen Weatherly as depth, and then nope.
And you can't fault them. It's not like they would have ever expected.
They didn't know what it's like.
I just mean like sending a 7th round pick and a player and receiving a 7th round pick just one draft sooner in return is literally nothing in my eyes, but whatever. And then I also look at the Chris Herndon trade. And I think that is just an absolute failure by the front office as well. So my point is, you could get into that, but we're not gonna. We'll keep it with the coaches. Zim gotta go. Clint gotta go. Anybody that is tied to their hip, I suppose, which I guess means like Adam Zimmer, probably some of the offensive guys,
line coach.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't even really know if anybody's really tied to Clint. But anyways, those 3 guys probably at the very least have to go. And I want Andre Patterson as my interim head coach. I wanted him in there after the clock hit 0 Sunday night. So for me, it's over. I'm saying it officially for all those people who get pissed when I beat around the bush or I say something clickbaity like Zimmer's got to go, and then I talk about
clickbaity. Don't be pulling a Schefter out here.
Yeah, right. No, Schefter. But yeah, he's got to go. I'm done with him. His clock management is absolutely terrible.
The clock management is just so bad. Like, what was the 2 timeouts? Like, what are you doing? Like, what is that? The
second time that's happened under Mike Zimmer. That's absolutely uncalled for. Yeah, and that's something he's like consistently been absolutely horrible with. He doesn't prepare his team for big games, as we have seen consistently, and we saw yet again against the Cowboys, and it was yet again confirmed by Xavier Woods that he literally put his team in the wrong position. So I am beyond done with this head coach. We need somebody new. In my opinion, if you're not going to immediately promote Andre Patterson to interim head coach, then fine, we ride out the rest of the season, I guess, with Mike Zimmer. But basically, unless we win a Super Bowl, you fire him.
Oh, yeah.
And you get an offensive-minded guy in here if Andre doesn't want the job.
So here's what the Vikings think is going to happen. We're going to end up somehow winning some games or something, and then we're going to sneak into the playoffs, be that underdog, and then win the underdog 2-7 game, and then just absolutely fold in the next game and lose by 30 points. That's just typical Vikings right there. And then somehow Zimmer kept his job, which should not happen. But I could just see that happening. That's just the Vikings way right there. It's an odd year. We usually make the playoffs under the Zimmer era in the odd year. So that happens, right? We upset the 2 seed. Now we can fold the next game. That's just Vikings like right there. And then Zimmer somehow stays. That's just Vikings like,
And it absolutely sucks because I don't see it happening. That's the issue. But
it better not.
Everson Griffin had this great quote. Basically saying like there's still a lot of football left. We have an entire 10-game schedule left. And if we were to theoretically win all 10 of those games, you're 13-4. You're definitely in the playoffs if you're 13-4.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And if you win out all those games, you might even theoretically be, rivaling the Packers. Theoretically, I don't know. They just beat the best team in football.
They would need to lose this week, probably. But yeah.
But it's possible, right? So it's really tough. It's really, really tough. Basically, my point is, if we keep seeing anything close to what we have been seeing, which I don't expect to change, Mike Zimmer needs to go, and he needs to go sooner rather than later, in my opinion.
I just don't get why people are saying that he's not replaceable in the regular season. They need a change of scenery. It's been the same thing for 8 years now, just mediocrity,
Yep, exactly.
There hasn't been that push for a Super Bowl, and that's the ultimate goal. Your goal is to win a Super Bowl, not just make the playoffs every year. as a Vikings fan, just sit, because that's what I feel like it's become the last 8 years. And it's like, this team just needs to change. The talent on this team is phenomenal. There's talent. There's so many good skill players on this team, but they're not being used in the proper way. They're not getting put in the best situation. I feel like specifically on offense, it's been really bad with Clint under center as the freaking offensive coordinator. It's just been terrible.
Yeah, I'm really done with Clint Kubiak and the fact that he just obviously doesn't have an improvisational bone in his body. The fact that once defenses adjust to whatever it is he schemes out the bat,
nothing, no adjustments. There's nothing.
Yeah, he can't do anything to counteract that. So that's absolutely disgusting and beyond hard to watch every single freaking week. And then, Zimmer's he's a glorified defensive coordinator.
Yep.
He doesn't know how to manage a game clock. He doesn't know how to actually care about an offense. He obviously doesn't know how to even communicate with his players after the whole Kirk Cousins timeout incident. I'm sick of it. I'm done with it. I don't care. Your corners aren't good, Zim. The best one is 30-something years old, and he's on the injured reserve right now. That's what you're supposed to be amazing at. You're trash. Get out. We don't want you. I love you as a person. I think you're an amazing human being, and I wish you nothing but the best moving forward. And I appreciate everything that you brought to Minnesota. And, I understand that you had horrible, terrible scenarios happen while you were the coach, but it's obvious, man. You're done. Your mind's not in it. Your heart's not in it. I can just see it. And if it was, you would be in firm control of this team. Right. And this team would have won all of the games that we've currently come so close to winning. We wouldn't be looking at the opposite end of the spectrum. So,
I think he's lost it. Yeah. I just feel like the game's
that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. The last thing I'm going to say is just, I feel like the game is passing him up just a little bit. I mean, he's obviously getting older.
A little bit, brother.
I'm being generous. All right. I'm being generous. I mean, it definitely has. And it's just like, again, like you said, I don't feel like he's as into it as he was probably 5 to 6 years ago when he first got here in Minnesota. So I feel like he's lost the locker room a lot compared to what he's been.
I hate to bring this up because there are some people that were saying that it was false, but, being a follower of hers on Instagram, I know, to be fair, I didn't see the original post, but I know that she has posted things like this. Zimmer's daughter posted a screenshot of text messages between the two of them.
Yeah.
And it was basically him just asking how his grandkids are doing. And she just basically said, they're doing great, but they're missing their grandpa. And he shot back with a message that basically said something along the lines of, that's great to hear. Those little buggers are the only thing that makes me happy anymore. She took a screenshot of that and she posted it on Instagram. And then she deleted it.
That's not okay.
She deleted it however many minutes later. But I don't know why this isn't bigger right now on Vikings Twitter, why this isn't being talked about more. Because that is so obvious to me. Oh, and I should mention that she also kind of added a little text to it alongside her post that was like, oh, coach, feel bad for daddy or feel bad for coach or whatever. You'll get through this. So if you've really lost your heart, why are you still here?
Right.
Why are you still here? Why don't you just resign? I mean, he's not an idiot. I'm sure he knows that the majority of the fan base right now is calling for his head.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough. It's tough for me because I don't see him turning this around. And like I said, I love the man that is Mike Zimmer. I'm just not a big fan of the coach anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So, well, that is my 2 cents on the Dallas Cowboys and the coaching situation with Minnesota Vikings. Tyler, do you have anything to add before we get into Baltimore real quick?
I don't. I'm just highly disappointed in Coach Zimmer and this team, to be honest with you. Just not. Hey, 2 weeks to prepare. In the end, you had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and you didn't prepare enough.
Yep. Completely agree. So I personally am going to keep this very short and sweet. The key to beating Baltimore, if this team is even going to come close to doing that, is going to be to unleash the offense. Is to say we're a 3-14 now. We have nothing to lose. So let's open up everything that we have. Anything and everything that we can do, we're going to start doing. And we're going to provide the necessary juice and boost that this team needs every time that we touch the football on offense. Because I can tell you right now, the defense is not going to stop that offense that Baltimore has. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, God.
Especially now with Daniil Hunter. So you either make it rain and you literally do exactly what Willie McGinnis said. You go out, you throw for an insane amount of yardage and a crazy amount of touchdowns, and you just blow the socks off of Baltimore, similar to what the Bengals did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or we're going to take a fat L.
A fat L, yeah.
So, before I give my prediction, do you have a
So I was just going to say, just with the defense specifically, I mean, I kind of agree with what you said with that, but I mean, if they keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket and don't let him escape and make him use his arm and not his legs, which is obviously much easier said than done, I think they have a chance to maybe contain him, not stop him fully, maybe give this offense a little bit of breathing room and some sort of chance to win this game. And if the defense does that, then maybe the offense can make a play, but I don't know. They can't let Jackson escape the pocket and use his legs because then they're screwed. I mean, it's game over at that point. If they make him use his arm, though, I mean, he struggled with that with the Bengals. He was not very accurate in that game. The thing is with the Ravens is they're going to be really hungry for this game, especially after that loss and this team not playing this last week. Having all this time to prepare for the Vikings is kind of big for them. But if they make him,
Rashad Bateman had a great game.
If they can stop the running game of Lamar and obviously the game of the other running backs with like Latavius Murray and Tyson Williams, and they put it in, they make Lamar Jackson have to throw and beat him with their arm. I mean, they have a chance, but not very likely, to be honest with you, with what we're seeing. You know,
any given Sunday, right? Any given Sunday. So what's your prediction? What's your score prediction, buddy?
I'm going to go 34-13 Baltimore. I just think the defense, it's going to be another dud this week. This team is just derailed. I don't see Kirk Cousins playing any better. I mean, we're only going to put up 13 points, 2 field goals, and 1 sort of score. It'll be a pass. I think JJ will get a touchdown this week, not Thielen. And Lamar is just going to go off.
Yeah. I'm going to go 41 to 16.
All right.
So a bit of a strange score, but yeah, obviously Baltimore coming out on top, and I just absolutely smacked. I wouldn't even be shocked if all 16 of those points come in absolute garbage time of the fourth quarter. Yeah, but now that we've said this, and after the game the Vikings played, they're probably going to win, and they're probably going to do it handily. You know, everybody has them counted out again. And that will be absolutely disgusting, you know, and really hard to swallow, just like so many games this season have been. So,
the thing was, my prediction last week was right, but I didn't think it would happen to the expense of Cooper Rush beating us. I thought it was going to be Dak Prescott, not Cooper.
Yeah.
So I can't even count that. Like it's just dumb.
That's the one crappy thing about recording a little too early in the week. Whatever. Luckily, Luckily, not luckily, however you want to look at it, I guess, to those listening. No extra news as far as any trade deadline moves from Minnesota Vikings, which we already kind of touched on. So. That is the end of the Minnesota Vikings coverage. For those of you who want to stick around, Tyler, it's your segment, buddy. Take us through just a couple of the games around the league.
All right. Well, let's start with the train wreck out in Arizona this past Thursday night. Train wreck is putting it lightly, folks, for you out there listening. The Green Bay Packers beat the Arizona Cardinals, the previously unbeaten Arizona Cardinals, without Devontae Adams, without Marquez Valdes-Scantling, without Alan Lazard, 24-21. I'm so highly disappointed with this game. The Cardinals should have won this game. I mean, they should. No, it's not even like a should have. They're just a better football team than Green Bay in my eyes, and they should have won. The end of the game where they're basically pinned, and Kyler Murray leads this team down the field, all the way down the field, basically starting inside their 10, leads them all the way down the field. And for AJ Green just to not know what's going on in that big of a situation, like, that can't happen. Like,
it can. It can when you have Green and
when you're playing Green Bay, but it's just like I don't. Apparently, they checked out of a run play. They were supposed to run the ball, and Kyler checks out of it, right? And AJ Green just didn't know what was going on, and he just apparently is blocking down the field and does not turn his head. You know, you have in Kyler's defense, you have AJ Green 1-on-1. Man coverage on the outside, you're going to throw it to him. He's a 6'4" receiver. AJ has proven he can go up and get the football. But it's
anybody with a brain would do that, right?
Yeah, and it's just the lack of execution by AJ, just not knowing what's going on. Like, I just I don't know how you get bailed that hard. Like, after that game, I'm just sitting there like, there's no way that a football team just won a game like that. There's no way.
It just hurts. It just hurts.
It hurts, but it's expected. Like, it's just that's how Green Bay wins these football games, specifically against good teams in games that they shouldn't win. I mean, the Bengals.
I want to say though, you started out by saying that Arizona was the better football team. I disagree. They didn't play like the better.
They weren't, but on paper
and like what they've shown throughout the season.
Oh God, yeah,
the better football team, absolutely. Yeah. But that team didn't show up, and Green Bay, to give them credit, looked like the better football team. I don't know how, but they did.
But Green Bay just handed them this game on a silver platter at the end by Aaron Rodgers turning the ball over on that fourth down and giving Kyler Murray another chance to win the game. You give Kyler Murray another chance like that, he's going to win the game the majority of the time. He's that good of a player. That's what I'm trying to say.
Game ended in an interception. I wouldn't really call that handing it over on a silver platter, but, I get what you're saying, buddy. I get what you're saying. I'm just trying to rile you up a little bit. What else do you got?
I mean, come on, man. You can't just sit there and be like, Green Bay deserved that.
Absolutely. What else do you got? What other games?
Oh, my God. No. Let's go to New York. Let's go to the New York Jets debacle.
Oh.
Debacle. I mean, this is a game where Cincinnati is obviously a huge favorite. And it's a game that they easily should win. But Mike White just says, nope, not having any of that today. 405 yards, 3 touchdowns.
New York legend, Mike White. Throw some respect on that name.
New York legend. It's just baffling to me that the Bengals, you come out there, the NFL is just so crazy. You go out there and steamroll, and I mean steamroll the Baltimore Ravens, and then you just lay an absolute dud. This is the worst I've seen the Cincinnati Bengals defense play this whole season, and it's just giving me flashbacks to last season, the year before. This is old Bengals, not new. This is a new chapter here. What are we doing? We're not going back to 2018, 17, 9. We're not doing this. Why? Like, the Bengals defense played terrible, but the end of that game, I don't know if you saw the penalty on Cincinnati where it was a 3rd down and I believe 11, where it should have been a stop, and Cincinnati gets a penalty for a guy lowering his head when
yes, that was bad.
It wasn't helmet on helmet though. He lowered his head but hit him right like in the chest area. It wasn't
No. I'm saying it was bad because it was the New York guy, I think, who technically initiated it because he was the one who brought his head down second, but the defensive guy gets called.
Yeah, but he wasn't really lowering it. Like, it wasn't a helmet on helmet where he was lowering his head to initiate, like, to the helmet. If you get what I mean. Like, that's at the end of the day, that's what the penalty they called, and it wasn't that. It clearly was not that. The Bengals got screwed there, but I mean, there's nothing you can really do about it now. I don't know. Just an unfortunate loss for Cincinnati in a game that you should win by double digits. Like, come on, man.
Just tough.
AFC North is sitting there for you, and after you beat Baltimore like that, and then just to fold there makes no sense. Let's go out to LA, a team that the Vikings actually play in, I think, after Baltimore, the LA Chargers. The New England Patriots somehow beat this team 27-24. And I got to give credit to Bill Belichick because his defense made some freaking plays this week. I mean, 2 interceptions for Justin Herbert. He looked terrible. I mean, like him in the pocket, he did not have any clean pocket really at all in this game. New England was getting pressure. They made him uncomfortable. He made a ton of terrible reads. This is the worst I've seen Justin Herbert look this season, specifically in a Chargers jersey. And the Patriots defense just went out and they made some plays, man. Mac Jones, again, I mean, didn't have a great game, but he did what he had to do, which is what Mac Jones has been doing, basically, for the Patriots. And he gave his team a chance to win, and his defense made a ton of plays. So I got to give the Patriots some props here. The Chargers, I don't know. They scare me right now. The Chargers scare me. I'm not sure they're as I thought they were about 2 weeks ago. I thought this team had the AFC West, maybe not. I wouldn't say won, but they were the front runner. Now, I don't know. I think the Las Vegas Raiders have maybe taken a step up. The Chiefs somehow won this week. So who knows?
Las Vegas might
win,
take a step back now with Henry.
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to talk about that, but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
We don't have to get into it. It's all good.
Yeah, it's just I don't know.
Prayers out to the family that lost somebody though.
That's very unfortunate. But just the Chargers, I don't think they're as good as what I thought a couple of weeks ago. Just to finish there.
Yeah, man.
Just the final game we're going to talk about here. I'm going to go with this. I would say the Saints and the Buccaneers was a phenomenal game. Tom Brady folding at the end of the game was crazy. Where he threw that freaking pick at the end of the game. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not get a chance.
Yeah, it was crazy. Prayers up to Jameis Winston, man. Torn ACL for the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, I should say. Jameis freaking Winston.
For real.
That's tough. You don't want to see that. But, I mean, former Viking quarterback, of course, steps in and makes some plays. Trevor freaking Siemian, man. That's what former Vikings do, man. They go out there and make plays whenever they're not wearing the purple jersey. Siemian was, I mean, he game managed, but he did a good job. I mean, he gave his team a chance to win, and that's all you can ask for. The Saints defense is playing at a really high level right now. They made Tom Brady not look insanely good. I mean, he did throw 375 yards, but, I mean, it wasn't 2 turnovers for Brady that's not what we usually see from him. And, I mean, the Saints, they're a team to look out for, I guess, which I didn't expect. I really thought this offense was going to be the Achilles heel of this team. I mean, as much as their defense, as good as their defense has been playing, I really thought their offense was going to be what's holding this teams back from making like a deep playoff run. But you never know now, man. I think they're a playoff team. I really do.
It's hard to argue. It's really hard to argue. But we'll see, man. Well,
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
I don't think they win the South.
One of 2 ways, with the whole situation that they got under center and all that good stuff. So.
Oh yeah, I don't think they win the South, but I think if Taysom Hill is coming back. I mean, he's not really a quarterback, but
yeah, exactly. You're probably not going to get much out of him. But.
Sean Payton will find a way. I mean, the team just it's weird. Their defense is playing at such a high level, though. It's just why I can't count them out, and they're 5-2 right now somehow. So who knows?
So is that all your games, man?
Yeah,
that's crazy. It was a little bit of an eventful week in the NFL. I mean, Thursday night, starting us out with a bang, and then last night's too. Not that we need to touch on that one, but that was also absolutely insane. Just to kind of see the way that Patrick Mahomes was playing, doesn't really look.
The Chiefs just aren't the Chiefs right now. Just to sum that up, they somehow won the game, but you're playing the New York Football Giants. You have to win. You lose that at home. You lose that game. You're not making the playoffs.
Yeah. And who would have thought? But that is it for this week's episode of Vikes with a Mic. Man, this was a tough one to make. So for anybody that's still here, thank you for listening. Make sure that you support the podcast in any way, shape, or form that you can. We're on YouTube at Vikes with a Mic. We're also we have our own website, www.vikeswithamic.com, where all of our previous episodes are archived. You can go check those out or support us there. Like, comment, and subscribe if you are watching us on YouTube. We will see you all next week after what we are assuming is going to be an even worse loss.
I'm hoping it's a much more positive outcome, but the likeliness of that is very difficult. It's not the odds to that are the odds are stacked against us. Let's just say that.
Yeah. They're more than stacked against us, man. It's a David and Goliath type thing, but this time David is not going to come out, I don't think. So with that, we will see you all next week. Again, thank you so much for listening. And we hope you had a happy Halloween, aside from...
I didn't, but...
Yeah.
Us Vikings fans didn't, but hopefully you did.
Yes, right, exactly. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Let's go.